What is going on, everybody? You notice how the name Doechii has basically disappeared from the conversation over the last several months? I put out a tweet about this that ended up getting serious traction, and it got me thinking about some genuinely suspicious patterns coming from that camp. I posted the tweet on May 26th, pointing out that nobody has mentioned Doechii in roughly 6 months, despite us being told she was the hottest artist on the planet. So, let me walk you through exactly how I arrived at that thought. It all started when I discovered this female rapper named Trim. I covered her in a separate video, but I was genuinely impressed by her music. I sent her music to a friend, and he liked it too, but then he asked me if I was really taking her over Doechii. And that question stopped me cold because I realized I had not thought about Doechii in a long time. So I looked her up, and sure enough, nothing significant was happening. That is what prompted the tweet. On X, I tend to post thoughts that are real but too brief to build a full video around. And when that tweet exploded, it confirmed one thing. A lot of people share this exact feeling. It does not necessarily mean I am right, but clearly the sentiment resonates widely. The tweet immediately drew pushback from a specific corner of rap Twitter that glazes certain artists aggressively, Doechii being one of them. And the defensiveness of the responses caught my attention. Because if she is genuinely that popular, where is the anticipation for new music? There is none. She does not have a debut studio album yet. Alligator Bites Never Heal won a Grammy, which is significant, but in terms of cultural momentum and organic fan activity, there is simply nothing happening. Her supporters in the replies were pointing to a song she did with Lady Gaga for the Devil Wears Prada 2 movie. The problem is that most people didn't even know that song existed until someone mentioned it in the comments. Compare that to the Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga collaboration from A Star Is Born, which sat in the top 10 for months organically without anyone needing to announce it. That is the difference between strong cultural impact and manufactured buzz. I also pointed out that artists like Nine Vicious, Ken Carson, Blood, Blee, and Shay Slayer, none of whom have major awards or mainstream hits, generate more consistent conversation, more anticipation, and more genuine fan activity than Doechii does right now. When Ken Carson's Project X was building up the hype, it was unavoidable in hip-hop circles. With Doechii, no leaks are being hunted, no fan communities buzzing, no timeline takeovers, just silence. And I want to be clear, I actually like Doechii as an artist. I did a full live stream listening to the project and I enjoyed it. This is not about hating her music. It's about being honest that the level of popularity she was being presented as having did not match the real-world evidence. Someone quoted my tweet and said Doechii is working on her debut and that great artists prioritize quality over quantity, predicting she would be #1 again. I had to point out that Doechii has never been #1. Not on the albums chart and not on the singles chart. Her biggest charting moment was Anxiety, which cracked the top 10. That's her ceiling so far by the numbers. Then someone tried to defend her by mentioning the Timeless remix with The Weeknd and Playboi Carti. I genuinely did not even know she was on that song, and that right there says everything. It's the same energy as Kanye hopping on the Like That remix during the Drake and Kendrick situation. Nobody asked for it, nobody really engaged with it past the initial 12 hours, and it disappeared without leaving any cultural footprint. Running Google Trends data across the past 3 months tells a very clear story. The biggest spike for Doechii was tied to the Met Gala and had nothing to do with her music. Meanwhile, the so-called underground artists I mentioned are tracking comparable or higher numbers in terms of search interest. These are Tier 3 rappers on the come-up, not Don Toliver, not Yeat, not artists with massive mainstream profiles, and they are generating more organic curiosity than an artist who just won a Grammy. That discrepancy is what made me think about an Academics clip where he talked about meeting with Dave Free, because the behavior around Doechii's career started to remind me of something much more calculated and industry-driven than organic.
Like, bro, how much is he paying you for this? And I'm so stupid. In the moment, I'm thinking, wait, you think Drake paid me to come here? What the f? So I think I said, nobody knows I'm coming here. Even Drake. What the f? Like, what, you think Drake would pay me to go to a concert? What the f? No, then he said, no. I'm like, pay you for all of this that you're saying. And I'm like, huh? He's like, bro, I want to know what you're getting from this. And that's who I think he's a smart businessman, but that's when I was just like, wait, they thought Drake bought me? I've never been more.
This whole conversation connects directly to a situation involving academics at a Kendrick Lamar GNX tour show. Academics had purchased box seats to the event and was approached by Dave Free, the former TDE executive who now works with Kendrick at PG Lang. And what Dave Free said to him is what really opened my eyes in relation to the Doechii situation. Dave Free approached academics in genuine shock, asking how much Drake was paying him to post favorably about him. That question alone is revealing, because if someone is that surprised that a person is not being paid to promote an artist, what does that tell you about how things typically operate in their own camp? I'm not making a blanket claim that everyone posting about Doechii is on the payroll, but it raises a legitimate question about how much of the buzz surrounding certain artists is organic versus incentivized. Because when you step away from the hip-hop Twitter accounts with established clout and look at average everyday people, regular streamers, regular content creators, regular fans, the consensus is pretty clear. Nobody is fully buying the narrative that Doechii was the hottest thing in the game. And this is after a legitimate hit record. Anxiety was a genuinely catchy song that connected with real people. The hit is not in question. What is in question is the attempt to paint that moment as the beginning of a massive wave and then gaslight anyone who pushed back and said the numbers and the organic activity simply were not matching the story being told. Now that the dust is settled, after the Grammy, after the tour, after the festival appearances, there is zero anticipation for what comes next, and that silence is very telling. Here's my prediction. When she does eventually drop new music, watch how everything suddenly gets turned up to maximum volume across every platform simultaneously. But a manufactured moment is easy to spot when there is no active fan base sustaining the conversation in between. And building a real fan base takes time and authentic connection. It cannot be manufactured through marketing spend alone. Doja Cat makes genuinely excellent music, arguably better than several of the underground artists I mentioned. But people were also trying to compare Doechii to Tyler, the Creator, as a cultural figure. Tyler had an intensely active Odd Future fan base that moved organically and loudly. That kind of following cannot be bought. Maybe Doechii simply does not engage with her fans enough to build that kind of community. Whatever the reason, something is clearly off, and the 6 months of silence speak for themselves. Do I think people were being paid to post favorably about Doechii? I genuinely do not know. What I do know is that I never took any payment for anything, and even though I gave her album a positive review, I somehow get labeled a hater. That tells you everything about how defensive that fan base gets when anyone asks a straightforward question. People can enjoy an album and still be honest about whether an artist is truly as popular as the industry is presenting them. Those are two completely separate conversations, and I refuse to conflate them. To bring it all the way back to where this started, Trim. Go watch that video. It will be linked in the end cards. Trim has genuine organic motion. It's mostly with women, so a lot of us may not immediately clock it, but that girl has real people actually engaging with her music naturally. I would even go as far as to say Saweetie had more authentic grassroots momentum at her peak than Doechii has right now, despite Saweetie never winning major awards or receiving the level of industry support Doechii has received. Flo Milli is another example. There's real anticipation for her next move, and you can find people actively talking about her without anyone having to manufacture the conversation. Both of these artists are operating on a fraction of the marketing budget that went into pushing Doechii, and yet the organic energy tells a completely different story. Let me know what you all think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.